Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to, I'll give you some time to do that. He said it sounds like a stadium. I'd like to say that I feel like the opening act for the Rolling Stones here. I know that this afternoon's meeting is going to be much more of public interest, but this is the Committee of the Whole for Thursday, April 30th, 2026, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 9:31. We have I'm going to give our land acknowledgement because we are living, working, and playing on the territories of the Sechelt and the Squamish Nations. We have an agenda in front of us, and I'm looking to see if there's been any additions or subtractions to the agenda, and I don't see anybody moving. So I'm going to call for a motion to accept the agenda as it is. Very good. And all in favor? Very good. That passes. We have an agenda. We have no presentations or delegations at this time. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept all reports. And I see that, and a seconder, and all in favor? Very good. Okay, so we've got all reports. And we're going to go straight to 4.1, which is the 2027-2031 financial plan timetable. And I'm going to turn to our Chief Administrative Officer to introduce this.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this particular report is to plan for our upcoming financial plan process with the election coming up in October. We're trying to go ahead and plan as internally we kick off the process in May typically. So in front of you are three options as far as scheduling. Typically, we like to adopt the financial plan sometime in February to provide time for us to initiate projects as soon as possible, including procurement processes. However, due to inauguration being in mid-November and with us typically winding down in December and orientation, we are making a recommendation to conclude our financial plan at the end of March, which is set in alignment with the statutory requirements of adoption by March 31st. So happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have recommendations in front of us, and let the board know that, or the committee, sorry, let the committee know that this is the only piece of our open agenda today that is for decision. So if you have any questions or concerns about this, Alternate Director D'Andretti, I recognize you.
Thank you. Even though the town of Gibson has not, council has not officially approved the calendar for next year, because we do towards the end of the year, but I ask them what's happening next year, and it's likely that we will have meetings on January 5th, 19. Actually, 5th doesn't matter because there's no meeting for the SRD, but January 19 and February 16. So I'm just wondering, whatever option the committee chooses, if there's any possibility of avoiding January 19 or February 16. So the mayor can attend here and also attend the meetings.
I see. So your concern is that the town of Gibson's has already scheduled meetings for those days.
Yeah.
Okay, that's noted. And these are, the 19th is, it's the Monday, Tuesday. We usually do the Monday, Tuesday. Knowing that, I wonder if there is a possibility of rescheduling and whether or not we need to make a decision on this today, or there can be some conversation about this and have the CAO come back with us with different dates that may be more in line with all the board members. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have modeled this in alignment with what we have done with several years past practice. what happens generally is we conclude meetings or we set up meeting agenda items to allow for folks who need to attend other meetings, typically the Town of Gibson's for that Tuesday, to conclude those items before the lunch hour so they can attend the afternoon meetings, or schedule things for the Monday that are more regional in nature or are service area specific for the Town of Gibson's. So we do keep that in mind when we set up these particular meetings, and especially when we start to draft the agendas, those types of things are also put into consideration. And depending on what our makeup of our board will be, hopefully we have a lot of the same makeup, and so we won't have to, we'll be able to be expeditious in our process for round one as well.
Thank you for that answer. So yeah, it appears that a lot of the more regional items that are pertinent to the Town of Gibson's will be preloaded for the day before. So shouldn't be too much of an issue. Chair recognizes Director McMahon.
Yes, I will note that I think we've been getting a little more efficient with the budget over the course of time, and we sometimes get it finished in one day and don't have to go to the Tuesday, which is excellent. I also note that only one date is a potential conflict, which is the 19th. So I'm going to move the recommendations on page 3.
I have a seconder for that. And is there any other discussion on this item? Sure, go ahead, Director Toth.
Thank you. I just wanted to sort of emphasizing that this being post-election, there's a chance that incoming councils, incoming boards could entirely change up the dates that they're meeting as well. I know that was a conversation we had in Seashelt about shifting from Wednesday to a Monday meeting, which if we had, all of this would have been an issue. But yeah, I mean, nothing is set in stone until, the week or two before the meeting. So things can always change. Thanks.
Best laid plans of mice and men. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Very good. Any opposed? No? Good. Okay, we're going to move on. Excuse me. My next item is item 4.2, status of reserves and holding funds. This is for information, and we have our staff member here. Mr. Taylor, would you like to highlight any parts of this report for us?
I'll just give you a brief introduction. The report before you is a biennial update and summarizes the status of reserves and holding funds at March 31st, 2026. The SRD held a combined $94.56 million in investments over the 5 separate reserve and holding funds identified for investment. A snapshot of the status of these funds can be found in attachments A through E on the agenda today. Staff are available for any questions that you may have.
Go ahead, Director McMahon.
Yes, on page 13, the Community Works Funds, it would be nice in future just to put a little footnote or something that although we have that money there, much of it is committed. And so I wouldn't like the public to think that we're just sitting on it with no plans. I did have a question on the top of page 15. No, it's not 15. Shoot. Now I can't find it. There were 2. I found them somewhere. There were 2. Oh, there they are. It is. It's page 14, top of page 14. There are 2 agriculture amenity funds. I knew about the first one, but I didn't know about the second one. So are they related to the same project? Why do we have 2 funds?
Go ahead, Manager.
They aren't necessarily associated with any given project. I believe that they were allocated out in round 2 to, but they are 2 separate different resolutions that happened in the past that appropriated these funds.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the first one went to the Agriculture Advisory Committee when we had one for discussion, but I don't remember any mention of the second fund. So if there is a future opportunity, I'd be interested in understanding the history of that second contribution and whether it has the same requirements as the first one.
Okay, thank you. Director Toth, you have a question?
Just a follow-up, I mean, looking at the resolution number, I think that's a resolution that was passed in 2019. So that would have been probably before I joined the board, but while you guys were at the table. So, yeah, we'll have to see what that was all about.
Thank you. Director Inkster, you have a question?
Thank you. It's good to see these amounts. I always like money in the bank at the DOS and here. I know that many of the items are for projects to be done and/or specific to categories and departments within the SCRD, so that's where it is supposed to be. Different than municipalities, as we know, where you have larger funds that you can move in different directions, and we have a couple of those at the DOS. Do we know, we were at the AVICC, as everyone knows, last week, and one of the discussions I had in a number of discussions, well, I'll say 2 discussions, was talking about financial health of particular municipalities. Some are challenged, some are projecting large tax increases over a number of years. So what I would ask through you, and maybe the staff member in front of us has some historical information, but I always ask this because I'm hopeful. Do we have a comparison of per capita reserves or anything like that? And maybe this is through to the CAO with her background to other regional districts in similar size in order for us to determine that we're doing a good job. Thanks.
I'm looking to our CAO to see if there's an answer to this.
It's a great question. And that would be a policy decision that the board has not made yet. And we would look at that more in alignment with our capital renewal and our asset management and long-range capital plans. Not just our current infrastructure, but what future infrastructure needs are, say, for instance, our water utilities. What do we need in reserves now and what do we need in the future? So what we know is that we have on the work plan, and that is something that we hope our new CFO will look to in the next year or so, is to start that work on determining what service levels we need and what funding strategies are associated. And so then it would be clear how much we need in reserve for each service to sustain that. For instance, we've already presented capital renewal plans draft for our water utilities. We know that we have almost $1 billion of infrastructure there that needs funding, and we have a significant shortfall there. So what we need to do next is to develop a strategy to work towards what a floor in reserves would be and what a ceiling would be, or how we would actually look to fund projects in the future, because right now it's very ad hoc in how we do that. So there isn't a good guidance. And what I would say is that to measure against other regional districts or local governments, you would want to also look at like for like. So we'd probably look at service to service. So that's why we'd probably measure against regional district type of comparisons versus municipal, but it wouldn't discount that we'd want to look at that too. There's also significant best practices from GFOA, international and whatnot. So we would be looking to those to guide as best practice going forward in the policy decisions.
You have a follow-up, Director?
Thanks through to you, to the CEO. I think she expects me to ask similar questions often, so I'll keep doing that. I think it's good, the work we do. My question as a corollary to that is that if we have a good plan in place, and it was spoken to, the CEO did say this, ceilings and basements, what I would hope we can do going forward is try not to tax to put in a bank, to have a tax plan over a number of years that if we've done, and it looks like we have a plan, that we tax according to need and not then to put away in a bank, because the taxpayers, over the last number of years, have seen a huge rise in taxes. And that's to meet infrastructure costs, but I'm hoping there's a plan where we can bring it down to 5% because of what we've been hearing about the costs of labor and materials. Paul River is having difficulty as a close-by area. What are they going to do with the recreation complex, which was built 40, 50 years ago? How are they going to pay for it? Will they close particular parts of it? That's because they don't have necessarily, they weren't ready for this, and hopefully they should have had a plan. So this is just my sort of dog whistle, the right kind of dog whistle in this case, to staff and our board to make sure that we plan going forward. Not only do we have enough money, that we don't overtax. It's a really tough formula. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Director Easter. And you know, I've been here a lot shorter of a time than you have. But in that short time that I've been here, I've noticed that there's been great improvements in asset management and the planning for the future. But it absolutely is up to the board to balance that, to make sure that we are putting away enough for the future, for our future residents, that we're not putting that burden onto the present residents too high. It's absolutely a balancing act, and I think that we have to be careful that the pendulum doesn't swing too far in one direction or the other. And so it is the question of the day. Did I see any other hands on this one? No? Very good. Thank you, Manager Taylor. Let's see if you're going to leave us or no, we're looking for Manager Wing to come up and discuss something that's close to all our hearts is our constituency expenses. Thank you, Manager Wing. Is there any introduction to this?
Thank you, Chair. This is just the standard quarterly report. This reflects expense claims received by the payroll department up to and including April 17th of this year.
Thank you very much. Everybody happy with this one? Oh, go ahead, Director McMahon.
Yeah, I just wanted to pontificate for a moment. I was thinking about maybe changing my plans around UBCM, and I was horrified, by the $550 a night hotel room. And then I went on TripAdvisor to see what hotel rooms are like in Vancouver that week. 769, 922, $1,100 a night. This is obscene. I'm afraid we should look at not holding our conference in Vancouver anymore, because I just don't. I don't think these kind of costs are supportable for a conference. This is outlandish. So anyway, that was my rant. Thank you very much.
Well, maybe maybe UBCM should buy a hotel in Vancouver and get into the hotel business, and then maybe we could make some money. Director Toth, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have similar thoughts actually about AVICC. So, it's ironic that you bring it up, being that you're involved with AVICC. I think I've heard good news about, Kelowna is going to be expanding their conference center up there. Theoretically, UBCM could actually go to Kelowna with the new facility once it gets built. And I think it's important that these things move around, not only for costs, but also for the injection that it has in communities. Mm-hmm. When AVICC was in Powell River in our very first year of last term, that was incredible. The whole town was alive because of the sheer number of people that came in, right? And so I support the idea of moving these conferences around, and especially in terms of cost escalations. Otherwise, we have to start talking about limiting the number of people that can attend, and that's not always fair either.
Sorry, a couple more. The subject line on the report says 2025, typo. AVICC is looking at, we're investigating Campbell River right now to see if we can find an alternate location. But I think all of these conferences have to rethink. Also, AVICC is held on a weekend, and it's quite deliberate to make it available to people who work. UBCM is an entire week in super expensive locations, and I think it's becoming a burden. And it is a burden for small and remote communities who can't afford to send people.
Although, yeah, it's becoming more pricey. It is, I find a great value in these conferences, meeting with other people that are in the similar positions to ourselves, and we do tend to come up with good ideas, and we tend to not just commiserate with each other, but also we come up with plans and communication between the different areas within the province, and I think we're doing good work when we go to these things. Any other questions based on this report? I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to thank Manager Wing for his time, and we're going to move on, and I'm going to call Manager Crop to the table. So contracts between $50,000 and $100,000 from January to March. This is a quarterly report on our medium-sized contracts. Are there any questions related to ammonia substance removal services or any of the other things? Director McMahon, go ahead.
I know I've asked this before. Are we looking at revising the delegation bylaw? Because the values no longer necessarily are capturing the really high-ticket items that need public scrutiny.
I wonder if that's a corporate officer or administrative officer question. Go ahead.
Yes, and it's not just related to delegation of spending authority. There are other areas within the delegation bylaw. So that is on the work plan. It's just our legislative services team. We have some things we have in the queue. We just completed some large bylaws, and we do have the election to run. So their capacity is limited. So that'll be probably a later Q4 and into 2027.
Right, so you got your eye on 710. Very good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll keep moving. That was.
Thank you.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry.
We don't see her very often.
I know. Well, I see her in the hall. Say hi to your husband for me. 4.5, which is the Q1 corporate quarterly report. I know this. Everyone's on pins and needles for this one. Thank you. CAO, would you like to introduce this report for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is a revised template for 2026 that we have introduced, and this is to reflect more of a consolidated version now that we have introduced other reporting tools such as the quarterly work plan and the directives and whatnot that talk about more specific and detailed information of projects. So we have also introduced a summary of specific statistics because in the past we're providing a lot of data and there wasn't really a lot of rationale for that particular data. So happy to get any feedback that the board may have on this because it's our first one. And again, what we're trying to do is create some efficiencies in with staff because our past quarterly reports cumulatively were in the 117 or 77, I can't remember, but it was a large undertaking. And so what we're trying to do is also streamline for staff and provide relevant information to the board and to the public. So happy to take any questions, and the SLT department heads are here to answer departmental questions as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the effort to streamline, and there are a few issues that I have with this particular report that I know that in future iterations we're going to help each other iron out the differences. Some of the things are single data point bar graphs, which is something that kind of, I'm not sure how we can, example, there's a pie chart or a bar chart on page 33, 34, the particular one about the Voyant Alert subscribers, it's a single data point, and so there's really nothing to compare that data point to. We could look at last year's subscription rate compared to this year's subscription rate, because that we need that kind of information to make sense of this chart. And I have a question about the volunteer fire department vacancies on page 33. I don't understand how a volunteer fire department can have vacancies.
We have certain type of positions that we know within the volunteer complement that are not filled at this particular time. So those are part of recruitment and training initiatives.
Very good. And so I understand that there are some, the normal amount of lieutenants within a department is not fully complemented at the moment. I believe that's what you're talking about.
It's not just attendance, it's the type
Lieutenant.
of position. So
Yeah.
do we have do we have enough captains? Do we have enough lieutenants?
That's what I said,
And so
yeah.
what we're trying to do is fill. So if you're saying the same thing, then
I said
yes.
lieutenants, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
not attendants. Di Andretti. Thank
Thank you. Just some kind of observation question, page 28. Recreations program enrollments. So the total number of participants is over 1,000, a little over 1,124. And the total number of programs is 127. So if you divide, it's 8.9 participants per program. I don't know. It just like seemed to me, okay, it's just 9 people in each program, I mean, in terms of average. And I was just curious, how many staff do we have to run the 127 program? And the comparison, like Director Bax mentioned, I think is valid to understand. And the same kind of issue with Dakota Ridge, season passes. So I was wondering, just daily passes or just a full season? And 118, I was just curious if this is a low number this year or this has always been the case.
Looking to Jim Gagnon for this answer.
Thank you, Chair. So with the recreation program enrollments, I don't think it would be accurate to take the total number of people and programs and divide it by people, because each program is very different. So for example, this would include swim lessons, and there are some levels of swim lessons where you can only have 4 participants in a swim lesson for 1 instructor. It includes the whole gamut of programs. So some programs, may have 20 people in it, and others, depending on what it is, might have fewer. So when a program is developed, we have capacity numbers based on instructor per participant. We have capacity numbers based on the size of the room. So they're all different. So I think it's not quite as easy as saying there's 9 participants per class. So with the Dakota Ridge, we can't actually give daily.
And maybe one instructor is doing more than a program. But I understand, but it's just having an average, right? Trying to understand, okay, we have 100, just trying to understand as well, because we talk about costs, we talk about also the needs of future analysis.
All right. Thank you for your input. Director McMahon, go ahead.
I have lots of questions, but I wanted to start with, I really liked having the highlights section and the emerging issues sections. I found those really helpful. The graphs, to me, they need 3 to 5 year comparisons, or else we don't know what to do with the numbers, because we need to understand the trends. Is it going up? Is it going down? Whatever. One of the, particularly on that, the transit usage, because that's a graph I've always been looking at. I know that our data from BC Transit is not as robust as we would like it to be, but still. I had the same response as Director Bax on the volunteer firefighters. I think that graph needs a bit of explanation put in as to what positions you're talking about, because one of the things that the fire departments sometimes report is, are they fully staffed up with volunteers? Like, do they have enough people? But that doesn't seem to be the same thing that's in the graph. So it would be helpful to understand that. And I have a bunch more, but maybe somebody else should take a kick at
I'm
the can.
going to go to Director Stanford and then Director Lee, and I'll come back to you, Director, there we go. Okay, go ahead, Director Stanford.
Thank you, Chair. I really like the new setup. It's so much easier to pull that community-friendly information. I do understand some of the concern around comparables on our graphs, but I think we do really have to be strategic on what we ask for. Otherwise, we're going to get those 118-page reports very quickly again. For instance, specifically to Voyant Alert, we just need more. I'm not sure if we need trends on the Voyant Alert. We just need to know that we will always be requesting more people get onto that particular program. So that's what I'm thinking of is really, do we need growth charts or comparables on some of these statistics? I have several questions about various parts of the report, and I'll just say, I'll just start with page 41 of the package. There's a statement about the Building Inspection Division, and I don't understand what it's saying. It says, although the 5-year comparison shows only a slight reduction in the total number of building permits issued in Q1, the net number of new dwelling units permitted during the same period was down 52%. In English, I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me. I think it's important. So if I could get a translation, please.
Yeah, it sounds like a valid question. Are there anyone here on the SLT, General Manager Hall, perhaps? Would you like to take a stab on translating this for us?
Yes, Chair. Apologies for the verbosity there. The broad point is development activity as reflected through housing construction is down. And specifically, when we look at Q1 this year versus what has happened in Q1 over the last 5 years, it's only 52%.
There are a lot of variables within that industry, cost of materials being one of them. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep moving along. Director Lee has a question, Director Gabias, and then I'll come to Director Toth.
Yeah, I think this is quite an interesting way of reporting on high-level issues. I kind of like it. I have another observation as well. I agree with an earlier comment. I'd like to see the previous year and the current year. You can do that on a chart and just have different colors, just so we can got some idea whether we're getting better or worse. But that's just nitpicky. I was wondering if we could get a comment, though, on the staffing issue, shortage of staffing. Specifically, I'm kind of interested in the pools, but I'd like to know overall how we're doing, too, for the corporation. It mentioned a couple times, so I was wondering if I could get some clarification or more info on that aspect.
Yeah, thank you, Director Lee. My concerns too are how many vacancies do we have and how long have they been vacant? So, General Manager Gagnon?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. While I can't comment because I don't have that information in front of me in terms of the amount of vacancies and how long they've been vacant in terms of data, I can give you anecdotally. Okay. We do have vacancies. Our postings are on our website. We've had several postings specifically for lifeguards that have been on the website for over a year. There's only a certain amount of lifeguards on the coast, and so it is quite challenging. We do offer courses to try and build from within, and we have had good enrollment of those courses, but as I've mentioned before, it takes time. There's several courses that folks have to go through to get their certification. So in terms of the impact on the facilities, as I've noted in the report, all of our pools are still operating hours below what was pre-COVID hours, although there has been some movement back in SAC especially. We've got some increased hours, Seashell Aquatic Center coming back. Pender Harbor, we had some recovery. We're still not quite there, but we are in a better position than we were a year ago. But it does ebb and flow. And I will note that, as you know, we have lots of students that are guards, and we are coming up to the fall. And oftentimes students go away to university, so that does also increase. So we're looking ahead, we're trying to project. But right now, we're not quite there, but we are in a little bit better position. But we do have ebbs and flows. We don't have a lot of redundancy if folks call in sick. We've had to close pools at the last minute. Staff are doing the best that they can. We have requirements around how far in advance we have to get schedules out, and a lot of time right now has been spent on figuring out schedules and rescheduling, and so they're doing a great attempt, and I will suggest that the staff that we have they're stepping up. They're doing what they can as well to fill shifts, and so we really appreciate the team and the effort that's being made to address this challenging situation. Thank you.
Thank you, GM. I know that you and the staff that work with you are doing their very best, and I do commend the work that they do. Director Gabias.
Thank you, Chair. I love this new template. Thank you so much to staff for making it friendlier for us and also friendlier to the public. I think this is a great document that can be pushed out to the public, whether it's through our newsletters or on social media. I think that gives a really good, easy to understand idea of what's happening, like little snapshot of the activities that happen in that quarter. So a couple questions about this new template. And is staff going to be using the same statistics every quarter? That's one question. And the second one would be, will this document be pushed out to the public in any way, whether it's keeping an archive on the website or through Coast Current or in any other way? Thanks.
That's a great question. CAO, would you like to give Director Gabias an answer?
There's been a lot of really good feedback about the statistics, and I think they need a little work. So we'll go back, but the goal is to try to keep static information that is relevant, of interest, and can help future decision making. So it's going to be a balance between have we chosen the right ones? Are they the ones the board wants to see? And in turn, is it the ones your public wants to see? So made several notes. And so I think for the next iteration, we'll incorporate some of these with the goal to then keep refining and keep those static so we can have things to benchmark and to measure against, because that's important. We also want to build, and when we moved to this particular format, we realized that organizationally, we need to do some work on developing some KPIs. So those are service level decisions. So as you start to make decisions related to service levels, as an example, as you start to go through your park service review, you're going to start to have things in there that you're going to make some decisions about service level standards. So those would be hopefully things that we can incorporate in the future, because those are important in these type of documents. Is what's the service level we've agreed to? Are we meeting that? And those standards that we can create. So that will be the iterative process and part of the purpose of this particular report going forward. And then as far as pushing out this information, it is on our agenda. We do other type of information that we push out to the public, typically saying the quarterly report has now been published, and we do elevate the attention so public can point towards it. And this will be also used in other type of communication channels, whether or not they're project channels. On our Let's Talk page, we also have those particular avenues, the Coast Current, as you mentioned. So it'll be beneficial for all those communication channels to create some consistency.
Great. Before I move on to Director Toth, I just wanted to point out the chart, development permit activity chart on page 39. I love this thing. That is one of the best charts I've ever seen. It's amazing. It's got so much information in such a well-presented way, and the trend line is there. So if we're looking at seeing how our work in the permit department is going, this is a beautiful piece of work. I really like it. So Director Toth, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it super quick because just keep being mindful of the time. I think the follow-up to Director Stamford's question is really the charts that are on page 40 of the agenda. In the top chart mentions, the number of building permits issued, which for 2026 is 61. But you look at the Q1 building permits issued by type for housing, and it's only 15 if you add them all up. So the rest of those building permits would have been renovations or garages or commercial, things like that. So I think that's where that statistic was comparing sort of apples and oranges, right? Thanks.
Director Lee, you have a question.
I actually have two, but I'll stick to this subject for right now. I like the charts all right on page, whatever it is, 39. I was wondering, though, that if we could get a comment on, I don't think it's capturing the total time it's taking to get from conception to completion for things like subdivisions, because we have a pre-application process that can take a long time, years, in fact, before we get to the development application actually being made. I was wondering if there's any thoughts of measuring the total elapsed time, just to see if we're getting better or worse at that aspect.
I'm not sure if that particular data is going to be that useful, because some of the delays within these this process is not created by the SCRD, but it's created by the applicant. Sometimes they take a longer time to do certain parts of the process than we do. And so I understand you wanting more information like that, but I really think that, go ahead.
Point of order, I actually was curious if staff would like to comment on it. Sure. I am aware of the challenges with all of those things, so.
No problem. I just
fully understand that part.
I understand.
Yes.
If staff would like to have some input, go ahead, GM Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Staff are aware of interest, not only on the part of directors, but also applicants in the community about processing times. We do have processing target times that are published on our website, and we largely hit those targets. As you noted, Chair, there are factors not in SCRD's control that impact processing time. That said, we are currently finishing up a project to update all of our procedures, and the board can expect a report on that shortly. A piece of that will be looking at how we can track times. We are, as noted earlier with the development permit processing time, we are tracking time for some permit types with relatively high accuracy. We would like to expand that to others, but in order to do that, there are both procedural and software improvements that need to be addressed at the foundational level to have meaningful information that we can bring forward. But that direction has been set by the board through the endorsement of the findings from our development approvals process review project a couple of years ago. So that work is underway, and I look forward to being able to provide you with comprehensive information on processing times in the future.
Thank you for the answer. Is that good for you, Director Lee?
Yes, it's exactly what I was hoping to hear.
Okay.
So that's good news. On your earlier comments, yes, some problems are applicants, some problems are ours. Sometimes we can do things better to reduce the applicant's time. And so I think that we have to start measuring and then start figuring out how to make it better, which hence is why I was asking if we were going to start reporting on that aspect. So thank you.
Director McMahon, go ahead.
Yes, I'm back to my list. I also liked the development permit chart. That was one of the things that I made note of. And I thought in that particular case, it's really helpful to have the quarterly data going back, because you can see development is very variable. And so it's really helpful to have that data. I did wonder about what data we need on a quarterly basis and what data would be sufficient maybe at year end, because some things we want to keep really good tabs on, like water usage, that's hugely important. But other things from quarter to quarter, I'm not sure how useful it is. On page 37, solid waste disposal per capita, I'd really like to see more data there. We had data previously that broke out solid waste and organics and showed the impact of the organics curbside pickup on our overall volumes. And that, I think that sort of thing is really important. And the month per month is not such a big deal. It's more like the bigger trends over years that matter. I really like there was, well, on page 38, there is a mention of a new bylaw complaint intake form, which I thought was really interesting, and I would be interested in know, will we see this new complaint form? Will it come to our attention somehow? Because I'm interested in how it will help the public with bylaw complaints. And talking of bylaw complaints, I really appreciated on page 41 showing how many complaints were received and how many of them were not within our authority. That's so 2/3 of them were things that we can't really do anything about. But and that's just an ongoing challenge. So I think it's helpful to know that, and I would be interested in knowing at some point, not now, how we help the public redirect their complaints to maybe somewhere else that they can get help with their problems, because certainly I hear a lot about bylaw complaints. And also on page 41, I noted the thing about an increase in complaints about derelict and abandoned buildings. I've also had complaints about houses that have been standing empty for years, and concerns from neighbors about what to do about it, how to track down the property owner, how they can get, issues addressed. So I'd be interested at sometime in the future if we could dive a little deeper on that, just to communicate with the public about what can be done. It's the usual problem. So many of these things are outside our jurisdiction, but if we can help people with, breadcrumbs, hints, whatever about where they can go to resolve the problems, then happier neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Sounds like you're setting us up for a bylaw lunch and learn, perhaps. It would be interesting for us to get to know more about our bylaw enforcement and how we can help our community both avoid interactions with the bylaw officers and when they do, when they're on anyway, I'm going to move on to Director Stanford. Go ahead.
I know we're short for time, but just a quick follow-up on that last comment from Director McMahon. We have some similar concerns in properties around Checkwell along Marine Drive, where they're in quite a vulnerable position, and sometimes there's squatters there. So there's been a real disconnect on how local residents can affect change, because again, our authority isn't in that area. So further ways to coordinate support would be appreciated. So thank you.
Go ahead, Director Lee.
I'll avoid the abandoned boat issue. I agree with Director McMahon. No, we need to try and figure out what we can do. I have a question about the emergency program bylaws. I was a little bit surprised to see that there's legislation changes ongoing that are sounds a lot like downloading to local governments to me. I was wondering if we could get some comments on the evolution of this and the scope of work that's happening that we can't seem to control.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we getting into the weeds in this a little bit? Would you like to answer this question? Thank you.
Yeah, so this is ongoing, something that has 2 UBCMs ago was quite a hot topic with regional districts and UBCM and the province related to the changes for new legislation the province was introducing. There continues to be evolving changes with how the province is going to be addressing emergencies. So one of the things the regional district has, and this is subsequent to the 2019 service review for emergency management and such, that the regional district needed to amend its bylaws. And so the regional district was already in process of doing that, although very slow. This new legislation really took quite a divergent change. So the board actually approved a project back a couple of years ago for that particular work. And so our consultant, which used to be Dave Mitchell and Associates and now is Tim Play and Associates, has got us to a point now where we are engaging with our other member municipalities. And so that will come back to the board, hopefully before the election, to align those particular bylaws in accordance to the new legislation. There is dangly bits that I will say with the province in such that there is certain types of regulations that they haven't quite honed in on. And so that may impact, but we are still proceeding and making sure that at least our house is in order. And if the province makes some additional changes, we'll just have to keep up with those. And so it's not necessarily download, but it is significant changes to legislation that we have to be mindful to understand what the implications are going to be, such as response, how we respond, and how we remediate particular events.
Was that sufficient answer, Director Lee?
Yes, it did. I have several parts of it that I'm quite interested in, so I was curious when they might be concluded. And so I definitely got my answer here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I was just wondering, I was just looking at the time, so that's why I made that comment. Are there any other questions on this report? It's an important quarterly. It's our first one with this format. And I like the work that the staff has done. If there's no more questions, we've got yet another 4.6. We'll move on to 4.6, which is our corporate work plan update. And I know that the board has many, many questions about this one, I'm imagining. So if Ms. Perot would like to give us a little introduction into this, our Q1 corporate work plan update for 2026.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So in March, we had presented the static update for the corporate work plan, as this is a relatively new tool to the regional district, and that was as we had approved all the new financial plan. So this particular iteration is to provide those updates. So status, is everything going well? Would be green proceeding based on the expected timelines. Yellow is some cautionary items that the board needs to highlight, and red means we've hit some particular roadblocks, and so those have some specific comments. We've also, in that particular update in March, we had integrated some updates that the board had wanted to put in there, and essentially we had updated that proverbial red line, which is essentially what we're trying to do is balance our resources and our work plan with the capacity that the organization has. So department heads are here to answer any questions that you may have. Just would say that our GM of infrastructure is not here today, but we have Manager Waldorf here to answer any questions. And if we can't, then we'll take those back for the board.
Thank you very much. And yeah, the explanation of the color coding on page 43 is really succinct for me. It really kind of lets me know that if it's red, we're going to have to get involved as a board. Go ahead, Director McMahon, and then Director Lee.
Yeah, I just had two items. One is page 48, line 3, which is the Marianne West wellfield. It lumps together Langdale and Marianne West. Will we get an update on Marianne West one of these days? It's of high community interest in my community. And the second question I had was page 54, line 12, the sports field strategy. Where are we at with that, and when will we hear back on it? Thank you.
Yeah, so the Marianne West, we don't have an update for that one. We can come back for that one, and then GM Gagnon can respond to the sports field strategy.
Go ahead, GM.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. This has been a really interesting project to work with so many different partners on a strategy and try and coordinate everybody's time and feedback to the consultants and back and forth. But I am very pleased to say that it's almost through the finish line. We are hoping to be in front of you in May with the delegation to be able to present the sports field strategy. I can say with 99% confidence we're there. And then, of course, the other elected will be rolling it out, or it will be rolled out to the other elected around that certain time. So some of it's around the coordination of the timing as well. But hopefully we'll see you in May.
That's great. I'm going to go to Director Lee. You had a question.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering if there's some place where we could see a list of all our completed projects, say, over the last 6 months or a year or something. I'd like to do a little bragging about progress we're making. So if I was thinking thinking I needed to go back and go over all these and cut them out myself in order to get a list, but is that what I'd have to do is my question.
Yeah, greatest hits compilation. CAO?
So we provided a completion report in January. So that was to conclusion of 2026. And so it had a list there of what the completed projects were. And so that was in the prior format. And so that will be updated as well as this iteration goes on here.
June, it's on an agenda committee, the whole agenda in January?
Yes, yeah, it would have been the COW 2, I think, for January, and so that would have been the conclusion of the 2026 projects and when they were completed, and so we'll be introducing, 2025, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. No, I think he's good. Giandretti, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering if this information of completed projects could go on the quarterly, this report, the quarterly report updated, because I appreciate there is a lot of talk about the SRD not completing projects. So I think it's important for the public also to understand the project that have been completed. So maybe it would add not more work really, because the information is here, but I find really important because the public can keep one idea and keep focusing on this idea for some impression, whether it's a long-term impression. And I think it's important to start breaking the pattern.
If I may, the color coding on the chart has got all the 100% completed projects in purple. And so if you look through, you can see them, but they're not all in one spot. So,
Sorry, I was
go
just, to me, it's just what Director Lee was saying. It's information to the public, right? I don't know if the public's gonna go and look at all the corporate. I'm just saying, I agree, it's important to boast. I do this as well in the town of Gibson. So when we do something, yeah, you're proud, right? Because it's easy to hear the opposite. So it's just
Yeah, and I think staff understands that this is something that the board wants to see. Yeah. Was there other questions on this? Give people some time. No? Very good. Then, in that case, I'm going to move on to the next point of our agenda, which is communications. There are no communications. New business? 4.7. Oh, 4.7. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I've jumped ahead, thank you.
That's what you got me for.
That's exactly why I have a vice chair here. So we have on page 58 for information, Chief Administrative Officer's report, the Q1 Board Directives update. Would Ms. Perot like to introduce this for us?
Yes, thank you. So last year we introduced providing, when we introduced the corporate work plan, the historical directives log and the current directives log. And so that was a new process for the regional district. This, of course, is a culmination of the board's direction back through staff. And so we had not been historically providing that to the board as far as status. So last year we did a significant cleanup of our historical to try to focus on what is relevant, because of course we had certain things there that we had circumstances changed, so lost opportunities. And so here is an updated version here, including the up-to-date directives up until, I believe, March. And so it also provides information on what's been completed. Staff are happy also to receive any feedback from the board if there's anything here that the board no longer feels is relevant or would like some questions related to them. So happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Director Stanford right off the bat.
Thank you, Chair. There's so many of these that connect with Area F. One of the ones that I'm most interested in is on the top of page 61. It's motion 189/20. It's notice on title against DL 696, knowing that that is a 42-year process and counting. I'm just wondering what that refers to and whether or not there's any action on it. And more importantly, there's a second line after it, 266, which says, and that this report be referred to the following agencies and committees, and a list of referral agencies. I don't know what that refers to, whether it's DL 696 or if it's a separate reference to a different project.
Well, now, go ahead.
I think staff might have to take that back and maybe do some investigation on that and follow up with the director. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, Director Lee, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just kind of curious if staff are actually actioning these things, or if they're dead and gone.
Yeah, go ahead, corporate officer. I think the point is that they're supposed to action them.
Oh, yes, staff are actioning them, and here, there's, of these particular directives, there's over 100 that staff have actioned since the last report, so there's significant action on them. Now, the ones that might be more stale dated and require additional work, I think those are the ones where we're looking at whether or not they still make good sense, or things the board still wants us to work towards.
Right, go ahead, Director Lee.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, staff will look at these though and then bring back and say, hey, we don't think that this is valid anymore, so let's not do any work on it. I'm thinking, for instance, the very first one for regulating smoking. It's kind of a done deal, really. Provinces put stuff in. But my question is, staff will bring back recommendations on whether we should cancel these if necessary, or will you just take them off the list?
Thank you, Director Lee. CAO?
So last year, we did quite a significant review. We had over 600 directives, and so staff did where they felt was prudent, made some recommendations. These are direction through the board to staff, so staff don't typically try to change the direction. The board would have to signal that back to staff. If there are circumstances, change to legislation or those types of things, we would introduce whether or not they are relevant or can be completed. But short of that, we wouldn't make recommendations back to the board to say, look, we don't think this is a good idea. It's the board that would have to tell staff that they no longer feel that's a priority. So there's a little bit of nuance to that.
Mm-hmm. There are 53 pages of these, and I have to admit that I haven't read them all. I imagine some of my other directors have read them all, but I think it's pertinent. I think I would like to have more time since the release of this agenda to look these over and then come forward with future recommendations myself. And I will go to Director Toth.
Thank you. The very few times I like to, use the board chair prerogative to jump the queue. I think from a process perspective, perhaps what maybe I'll commit to doing is I will help collate feedback from the directors about which ones you want to see expunged or canceled or whatever. And maybe we'll look to bring forward just a notice of motion to cancel the ones that we sort of collectively decide are redundant. I'm looking at some of these too, and it's like, well, just a lot of it that's redundant, unactionable, or it looks like it's been completed. So, we need to follow up on a little bit. But I think that's something that we have to own, and so I think that'll be my commitment. But now that we have this in front of us, I'm hoping directors can look over it over the next couple weeks. I don't want this to be like a 6-month process. I think this is something I'd like to see us try and get sorted and push off, before the end of May. So that's sort of my commitment to you guys.
Yeah, and I don't see this as something that we can ask staff to do for us. This is our responsibility. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Pearl.
Just for information, we had intended to bring this particular report on a quarterly basis to align with the quarterly updates, the corporate work plan. And so if between now and the next update in what would be July, we could most certainly work towards internally having some dialogue about what that should look like and what we could formally remove, because that would have to come through a committee through to the board meeting.
Director McMahon, go ahead.
Yeah, that kind of addresses what I was thinking about, that we should have a regular schedule for review of these. And I kind of think that at the end of the term, the outgoing board should take a good look at them. I'm not sure we need to see these quarterly. It just kind of expands our meeting packages. And I'm not sure that we're all that enthused to read all of these on a quarterly basis. So, but an annual, or sorry, a once-a-term serious housekeeping push, I think would be a good idea. And give some thought to the timing so that it doesn't tie up corporate services when they're busy with the next election coming up. So maybe the good time to do it would be, you know, a year before the end of the term, something like that. But if
We did one last year, but
yeah, but still, I sort of feel like it's a housekeeping that the outgoing board can do because we're at least familiar with some of these.
Thank you, Director McMahon, and I do concur with your talking about it being a housekeeping issue and not necessarily pertinent for every quarterly report. But that said, this is, we're in an election year now, and I think it's a good time for us to dig into this, and thank you, Director Toth, for your volunteerism. It's a good time to dig into this thing and try and kick the cobwebs out of it. So that said, I don't think we're going to dig into this just today, but it is some good bit of homework, 63 pages. Thank you very much. We're responsible for some of this too, I'm sure. As a board, yeah. Any other questions? CAO Perot, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, for consideration, and one of the rationales as to why we were bringing this in alignment with the quarterly work plan was that this is also work and components of work that are sometimes, they're not maybe extraordinary in nature, but cumulatively are still adding to staff's capacity. And the rationale of bringing it forward was awareness that in addition to all of the projects, we also have this body, this other body of work. And so we wanted to make sure there was awareness. And sometimes what would happen is we would make the same motion, or the board would make same motion, and we had maybe forgotten that we had already done the motion. So although there's a lot here, I wanted to just iterate what the intent was. And it's to make sure that we are staying on top of the things, the board's business that you want us to focus in at staff, because in the past it may have been more to staff's discretion when things went forward. And so we want to put the board back in the driver's seat as when these types of things, or at least have the conversation about those things. So fair enough on the time, the duration, and the process of how we want to align these types of things, but just wanted to highlight the purpose in alignment with the corporate work plan and why it's being put there as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Director Lee, let's hear it.
As far as how often we see this, I think that the board needs to decide. I'm quite happy with the quarterly, because if we'd gone through it and we had sanitized it, it becomes a very useful tool, and it shouldn't be very long, the list. So I think we just need to do our homework, and then after that, it's just a memory jog. Shouldn't be anything that we have long discussions on, you know.
Yeah, if we can cut it down to 10 or 12 pages, that'd be great.
shorter motions, folks.
Shorter motions,
But
yes.
But the reason I brought it up to start with is that, like what we're doing is we're giving staff a whole bunch of work, and we aren't making sure that it's actually still valid and it's still a priority. And this will allow us to do that.
I'm already got in my mind how I'm going to sort these things out. Some of them are just going to be, I'm going to need more information on this because it's from such a long time ago. But yeah, I'm as you are willing to dig into this. Let's go back to where we were before we started this one, which is, thank you. We have no communications. We have no new business, so I would like to move that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, C, E, F, G, I, J, K, and 90 2B of the community charter. I have a motion, I have seconders, all in favor? Very good. We are going to adjourn.
Any questions?
Any questions from the gallery? Thank you, Vice Chair. We have no questions from the gallery. We're going to go in camera, but we're going to take a few minutes break to organize ourselves. Thank you.
Going live in 5, 4.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Thursday, April 30th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting. And we are finished with our business of the day, and we will be adjourning now. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn, I guess. Okay, there it is. All in favor? Very good. Okay, thank you.